So it's the end of the week. You've had a hard week at work. So what are you going to cook on a Friday night? You're going to cook a nice curry. That's what you're going to cook, because curry just seems right on a Friday night. So I love doing a curry. This is where I get to pull out my spice tins, and then I get to play around, because I do have a sort of a go-to recipe for curry, which I'll do today. But I always like to play around with different spices and different amounts. You know, you can actually just sort of tailor it to your own taste, really. So it's quite good in that way. So the basic spices that we're going to use today, well, we've got curry leaves, we've got fenugreek, we've got coriander seeds, cumin seeds, mustard seeds, and then we're also going to use chili powder, garam masala, and curry powder. So that's the sort of basics, I think, for a really good curry. So for a good curry, I like to use chicken thighs or chicken drumsticks. Chicken drumsticks, they're a little bit messy and fiddly, so thighs are probably better in that way because there's more flavour in thighs. You could use breast, but breast, there's not as much flavour, and also it can go a little bit dry. So if you overcook it, so this way with thighs, perfect. So what I'm going to do is just cut these thighs into 4, I think that'd be about right. We'll put them in the bowl, because what we're going to do is just marinate the chicken first, which is going to give us lots of flavour, and it also just tenderizes the chicken as well. So it just needs to go in a marinade in the fridge for about half an hour. You can do it longer. If you do it longer, it's actually better, but half an hour is enough. It's Friday night, we don't want too much messing about. So then I'm going to add about 200 grams of natural yogurt. And then we get to add some spices. So about half a teaspoon of chili powder. Don't go too crazy with that because it can be pretty hot. And then I've got about a good teaspoon of garam masala, and a teaspoon of curry powder, and a teaspoon of paprika. And then we're just going to mix that and just make sure that the chicken and the spices, it's all sort of coated. You know, really get them spices into the yogurt and make sure the chicken is properly coated. And they say then it's just going to sit in the fridge for at least half an hour, or a little bit longer if you can, if you're patient enough. So with the curry, I mean, I'm going to serve a rice, but sometimes I'll make a naan bread and sometimes I make chapati. Today I'm going to make chapatis, which is nice and simple actually, and they're really, really good. So plain flour, and then we're just going to add cold water. And what we're looking to do is just get a nice sort of smooth dough. Okay, I think. So I'll just bring that together with my hands. A little bit of flour. And then we just want to knead that dough, just for maybe 5 minutes, just to get a nice smooth dough. Right, so that's our dough. So what we're going to do now, I'm just going to wrap that in a little bit of cling film, and then I'll put it in the fridge for around about half an hour, which works well with the timings for the rest of the curry. Right, so this is where the tandoori part comes in, the tandoori part of the recipe. What we're going to do is get our chicken pieces and we're going to put them onto a skewer. Try not to put them too tight together. Just leave a little bit of space in between each piece if you can. Then it's going to cook all the way around. That'll do. Right, and they're now going to go in the oven. Just set your oven as high as you can, because we're kind of trying to sort of replicate a tandoor, which is really, really hot. So my oven will go to 250 degrees C, so I'm setting it at that. And it'll take around about 10 minutes. And we're just trying to get some nice colour on there. Halfway through, I'll just turn them so we're getting both a nice even cook on them. And then we'll carry on with the curry. Right, now we can make the sauce. So we'll just get the pan on just a medium heat. You don't want this crazy hot. Just some vegetable oil. You need plenty of oil for this. And then we'll start with an onion. And the amount of onion really is down to yourself and how you chop it. You could actually dice it if you want, that's fine. I quite like it just cut into, let's get rid of that corner. Just sort of thinly sliced. And then we're just going to soften that onion a little. So at this point we can start to add some of these spices. I tend to add the seeds, so I'm using mustard seed, teaspoon, and coriander seed, teaspoon, and then cumin seed, just about half, well, a little bit less than half a teaspoon. So that is quite sort of pungent, the cumin. Now what we can do is fresh ginger. You could use dried, but I think fresh is a little bit better. I'm just going to grate it with the microplane just to, you could just chop it if you want, really fine. You can actually buy, I'm going to use garlic as well, you can just buy like a ginger and garlic paste in a jar, which is actually really useful and it's really good. But lately I haven't been doing it an awful lot, maybe, so I'm just using fresh. And don't, put plenty of ginger in and the garlic, because to me it's the ginger and the garlic that really make it a special curry. So don't skimp on them. Same with the garlic, I'm just going to grate it in. Whoops. Just give that a little bit of a stir as we go. I don't want to burn them seeds. In fact, I'll just turn that down a little. So plenty of garlic and ginger. And then I've got chilli. You could use dried chilli, but I think fresh chilli, it's a little bit nicer. That's actually more flavour than heat. And depending on how hot you like it, is the amount you put in, or you could use a green chilli. You can take the seeds out if you don't want it as hot. I like it fairly hot, so this chilli will be fine for me. Now I'm going to add a little bit more oil because I'm going to add the dried spices. Just let that get to temperature for a second. So we've got a teaspoon of paprika, and then a teaspoon and a half of curry powder, and a teaspoon and a half of garam masala. And then we've got our Fenugreek, about half a teaspoon. And we've got curry leaves. I'm just sort of putting a few in there. It's well, put a couple more. They're quite small ones then anyway. Now you'll start to get a little bit of a paste going on with the onions. And the flavours, it just smells amazing already with them spices. So looking forward to this curry. I've had quite a hard week at work. So they're not too high a heat. It's, you know, it's like you could think I'll just put it on high heat and I'll do it fast, but on a lower heat, you're going to get the flavours coming out. It's a bit like slow cooking something. You're going to get more flavour. So just on a low heat. Right, now we're going to add a tin of tomatoes. It's not a tin, it's a bowl, but they were in a tin originally, honest. And just break them up a little. You can use fresh tomatoes if you want, but I actually think there's actually more flavour in the tinned, unless you've got really nice tomatoes that you've grown in the garden yourself. So we'll just cook that out for just a minute or so. We'll turn the heat up a little now we've got the tomatoes in there. So now we're going to add some chicken stock. I don't think I need all of that. Let's see. That was about a sort of a pint, I think. Was it a pint? A little bit more than a pint. Yeah, I'll go with a little bit more. I'll do it. So now if you just bring that up to temperature again, we can add the chicken. Right, so now we can add the chicken. So you can see we've got a nice bit of colour on there and a bit of char. That's just going to really help with the flavour. But cooking the chicken this way, it just becomes really sort of tender and sort of fall apart. It's so nice, but you've also got that extra flavour from the marinade in the chicken. So all I'm going to do now is just put this on a low sort of simmer, because in theory the chicken is already cooked. So it just needs to go on a low simmer for around about sort of 20-25 minutes. And in that time, we can make our chapatis and cook the rice. Right, chapatis. So our dough is nicely rested, and basically the main reason for resting the dough is it's actually going to sort of hydrate the flour, so you get a nice sort of homogeneous dough, really smooth dough. So I'm going to cut this into, how am I going to do? 6, I think. I'm totally guessing at 6, to be honest. It's that much spread out in the pan. Yeah, be about right. I might be wrong. We'll see in a minute. So we just get one of our pieces of dough, and we're going to, a little bit of flour. So now here you could just roll it out into a flat disc and then fry it. But I think this method is way better. So nice and thin, and just like a long sort of shape. As thin as you can, really. But you've still got to be able to pick the thing up, so just give it a stretch as you go. It's quite springy, the dough. It sort of want to sort of pull back on itself. Right, that should do. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to brush it with melted ghee, or you can just use butter. Ghee just seems right for what we're doing. So just brush that one side with the ghee. It also adds this nice sort of flavour, ghee. It's like I said, butter. I've done it with butter, and it is really nice with butter. But if you do have ghee, then use it. Right, then all you're going to do is sort of stretch this and sort of bring it together, a bit like that. Then we're going to roll this into a spiral, and you can be rough and ready with this. Don't worry too much about how neat it is and things. So you get this little spiral of dough, and then just give it a squish. A little bit of flour, and then we can roll this out into a circle-ish shape. Not keen on perfect circles because it just means it's homemade. It was not perfect, I think. Didn't go and buy it from the shop. It wasn't made in a machine. So there we go, and that's it. And then we'll do the others. So to cook the chapatis, little drop of oil, just vegetable oil in a frying pan. These are actually probably a little bit too big for my pan, so they will go up the side a little, but I'll manage with that. I need a bigger pan. Definitely need a bigger pan. And they just need sort of like a minute and a half each side, just on a low heat though. Don't go crazy with the heat, because we want them to sort of cook through. I've already cooked one there, sorry, which what I'll do when they come out, when they've cooked, if you just brush them with a little bit more of the butter or the ghee before you stack the next one. Just have a quick look, that's fine. But these really taste nice with that, with the butter, along with the curry. It just works so well. To me, it's better than having a naan. They're just so tasty. Right, it's okay if you turn it early. You better turn it early because you can always turn it back. You don't want to burn them. And I seem to have a bit of a hot spot with this hob, so I have to be careful of that to make sure that I get it in the middle. Just flip it back and we'll finish that side. And then once these are all done, all I'll do is I'll just cover them with a tea towel just to keep them warm before we're ready to serve. So the curry's been simmering away nicely and it smells amazing. So the last thing to do, because I don't like to add this too early, is coriander. If you're not a fan of coriander, you don't have to add it. But if you're going to add it sort of later on, because it'll keep the flavour. Then it's otherwise you'll tend to lose the flavour. Also adds a nice bit of colour into your curry as well, so it looks good. Which you always want your food to look good. We'll just give that a minute and then we're ready to serve. So this is far better than, well, I say it's far better than a takeaway because there are some really good Indian takeaways out there, especially in the UK. I'm not sure about in the States or other countries, but this is, but because you make it yourself, it just tastes so much better as well. So we've got our chicken curry, tandoori style, we've got our rice, and then we've got our beautiful chapatis. These are something special. You really need to make these because they're sort of really flaky, but you know, with that buttery flavour, with the curry, unbelievable. They are so good. But the curry itself, it's not like an overpowering spicy. It's a nice, fragrant, fresh tasting curry. It's really nice. You should really try this one. If you're gonna do a curry or an Indian meal, try this one. It's fairly simple. There's nothing too complicated in there. And once you get the hang of these chapatis, you'll do them all the time. Definitely will. So a big shout out to a friend of mine, John the Wizard. He's not a real wizard, but John the Wizard, who asked me to do a curry. So John, you need to make this one yourself, along with everybody else. You all really need to make this, especially the chapatis. But that curry is super special. I can't wait to get chucked into this. It's so nice. So we'll see you next time, because I need to go quickly. See you next time for more Just Good Food.